Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session in a block targeting replication. Is this the session on data and performance indicators in relation to the transition to smart and energy neutral cities? And in this session, we will discuss with a couple of panelists the use and need of data and performance indicators to assist the transition to smart and energy neutral cities. The presenters that are at your disposal this morning is myself with a brief presentation on the data collection that the Smart City Information System has done and how you can use it as visitors to, for example, the website. Then we have Aapo, Huovila. He is working with VTT, and he is the chair of the Monitoring and Evaluation Task Group of the Lighthouse cities. He will tell about his experience with evaluation and monitoring. Jeroen Grooten is with us from the city of Amsterdam, where he is a project manager and data specialist, and he will reflect on the city needs for data. And finally, Hans-Martin Neumann, who is with AIT, the Austrian Institute of Technology, and a technical manager at the SCIS project, which is a support program that will run for a couple of years, starting now, called SCIS, and he will reflect on how SCIS will support cities with the focus on this monitoring and evaluation. So I mentioned already a little bit the four main elements presented by the people that I just introduced, and I will start with the main highlights of the data collection at SCIS through the self-reporting tool. It doesn't matter so much that it is a self-reporting tool, but that is the input side of the data collection. But the focus of this conference is on what can cities and stakeholders and other people visiting the website learn from it. So that's more oriented towards the output side. So I will recap a little bit here on this slide what is available on the website when it comes to data. And with data here, I mean more technical data. Yesterday in the conference, you have heard more about the SCIS platform as a resource base for capacity building, and that includes stories, interviews, videos, reports, etc. This part is more about technical data that are based on monitoring of pilot projects. And saying that, it's also important to understand that when we are talking about data here and about key performance indicators, that this is about indicators and data projects that are being supported by SCIS. So it's not necessarily city indicators, but that is important to understand that is quite different. And it also requires a different approach to collecting the data. These are data under the control of projects and really targeting the pilots that are being executed. But on these data, we have on the website manuals, how to understand, but also to input data, guidelines for monitoring, explanations on the different types of KPI, the key performance indicators that are on the website, either it be technical, environmental, economical, or social. We have a visualization tool developed that I will be explaining more detail later. And there is extraction of data through comma-separated value files That is mainly for researchers and people that want to dig deeper in data that are available. What we've also added in the years of the Smart City Information System project that's running since 2017 is reporting on positive energy districts. This is only early days because that kind of project started 1 or 2 years ago. So there's not so many data available yet. And an important element that was added in this project period is access to all the project public deliverables through a Cordis dedicated link. Maybe for the people that do not know, the European Commission collects all public reports from their projects on the Cordis website. And that is, so they are available as soon as they are approved, when the tagging of them, dissemination level is public, so that it is okay for reports to be open to the public. So we have, after a long discussion, decided not to store all these reports and data separately on the SCIS website, because that would be a duplication and a lot of work. But the all projects, starting from the Horizon 2020 program, they have a link to their deliverables on Cordis. When you go to the project website and you see the section on impact and tools and deliverables, there you should look to the link access to the public and approved deliverables. That brings you to the Cordis page of that specific project. And the CSV files you can find if you go on the website to experiences and then visualization, and then there will be scrolling down the page, this section on open data, where you can do downloads of data relating to these kind of thematic fields, or you can download all data. What we've also done in terms of visualization in the course of the project is that that kind of KPI that are common to almost all projects, which is mainly CO2 savings, energy consumption of buildings, that kind of data, we have also made direct links to the project web pages, so that you have an idea of what is happening in terms of technical data in that kind of project. And to the right, you see the monitored data, and to the left, there is the design or envisaged results, and the different columns that you see pertain to the different demonstration sites in such a project. Many of the projects have 2 or 3 demo sites where things are taking place, and the values that you see here are the aggregated values for the different pilot projects in a certain demo site. So, for example, if you have pilot projects on ICT and on mobility and on buildings, then these are aggregated values for that demo site in terms of the CO2 savings, etc. Next is here. Another way to look at data and to find data is, as I said, if you go on the website to experience and then to data visualization, there is a possibility to drill down in the data by making a number of selections. And what is nice about this is that you will see all the projects that fulfill the search criteria that you indicated. So then you can see that which projects have done work in this field. So, for example, if you look at the the graphic here on the left side, that was the result of the criteria that were above. It's small to read probably, but I will explain. You can make the distinction between monitored or design data, and then you select a thematic field, like is it about buildings, is it about energy systems, or is it ICT or mobility? That's what you select next. Then you have different kind of parameters, which is technical, which is about what is actually the performance of the pilot in terms of technical issues, but we also have the field of environmental, so that relates to CO2 emission. We have economic and social indicators, and then there are two further selections. What is actually the indicator that you want to see, and also what do you want to see? Do you want to see the before the project value, after the project value, the savings, etc.? That's all the things that you can select, and that will result in the type of graphs that you see here. And if there are multiple colors in a bar, like here for Build Smart, it means that in that demo site, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pilot projects that fulfill these search criteria. Looking at the CSV files, you can do more things, because you can make a distinction, mainly when it comes to monitored data, when these results were obtained. And so I did an exercise on a few of the main parameters, that the main KPI that are relevant for buildings in this case, to see what were the trends over the years. Those of you that were attending yesterday as well, you've heard maybe the contribution of Valerie Baar, who was already working in this field in the times of Concerto, when there was the technical monitoring database, and projects started in 2005. And so the first real reporting results of the older project were available around 2010. Well, in this case, I don't have values from 2010 onwards, but I have from 2011. And what I will show you is some parameters on new buildings and refurbished buildings over time, because the buildings element was present in almost all calls of the EU when it comes to smart and sustainable cities. The later projects had more things like ICT and mobility, but there is not such a long time range for those projects yet. So what we see is that when it comes to the actual energy consumption of new buildings over time, there is not a clear trend. It is also the early project, they had a low value of, a relatively low value of the specific energy consumption per square meter per year of about 60. And that didn't change so much over time. Whereas it for refurbished buildings, it significantly went down. And well, it has to do with the fact that at some point, the energy consumption cannot be really reduced for new buildings by doing better insulation, whatever, because you also have to ventilate, people move in and out the house, etc. So the energy consumption is not going down very much below this 60 kilowatt hours per square meter per year. But if we look at other parameters, for example, the local renewable energy share in the energy consumption, then we see that both for refurbished and new buildings, this has gone up significantly from the early days. Maybe most of you remember that around 2013, the price of solar PV panels dropped down significantly. And we see that in the later years, that a lot of projects report on a higher local renewable energy share. Then going to the primary energy use, which is the actual use of energy, but then converted to primary energy needed to provide the energy demand. For new buildings, this didn't really go down, which could have to do with the shift from, let's say, natural gas to electricity and heat pumps. Because for electricity, of course, you have your primary energy factor that you need to take into account. But for refurbished buildings, it's still going down. And then the final and maybe most important parameter of all is whether CO2 emissions went down in the building sector over these years. And you clearly see that, well, for both new and refurbished buildings, this really was the case. The graphics are, by the way, a mix of different types of buildings like offices, residential, industrial, etc. So it could be that that's why you see at some point that there are higher values, but the trend is unmistakable. Then, so to conclude about these monitored project KPIs, as for CO2, I already said that. For new buildings, the reduction is mainly through the increasing share of renewable energy, and for refurbished buildings, it's both energy efficiency and an increasing share of renewable energy that makes this happen. So I think with these conclusions, we can see that collecting data over a long time is very valuable to underpin the relevance of the programs of the European Commission. I'm happy to see that the trends are going the right way. So that's my contribution. I would like to hand over to Aapo to continue with his experience from the Lighthouse cities. So you can take control, Aapo.
Thank you, Rudy. So yeah, my name is Aapo Huovila from BTT Finland, and it's my pleasure to share with you experiences from the monitoring and evaluation task group of this European Smart City projects. So this is a collaboration initiative between the Smart City Lighthouse projects, altogether 17 projects that have been a cornerstone in the Horizon 2020 Smart City Research and Innovation Initiative. And we are having a group of experts on monitoring and evaluation from all these projects, and are working together on common issues that the projects are having on this topic. So how we are working? So we are meeting on a monthly basis, and then over the first year we have carried out a couple of surveys. First, we started by analyzing the needs and expectations from the projects. Then we discussed the differences in the scope of monitoring and evaluation activities in the different projects. And finally, we have been working on the baseline methods. And these activities we are now summarizing in a scientific journal article. So the main topics during 2020 on which we have been working together between the different projects. First of all, of course, we are sharing experiences on monitoring and evaluation, and then working on these common issues in the different projects. And we started by analyzing the monitoring and evaluation activities of the different projects and their scopes, and if common and different differences between the projects. Then we have identified gaps in terms of indicators that the project use in project evaluation, such topics for which we need to together define common indicators. And then we have worked on this baseline methodology. So the method to define the reference performance against which the project impacts are compared. And then also we discuss if there are any methodological issues in relation to the project reporting to this SCIS platform. And right now we are having also a discussion on the length of the monitoring periods in the project. That is sometimes an issue in several projects. If there are delays in the demonstration actions implementation, and now also due to COVID, even the monitoring data can be distorted. So we are discussing how to address that. But first we started by trying to understand the activities that project have in terms of monitoring and evaluation. And first of all, about monitoring. So it's mainly about the data collection from the project demonstrations, and it involves many technical issues in relation to metering and equipment to collect the data, and also the protocols how to report that in some platform and other ICT related questions. And then if we look at evaluation, that uses the data collected through monitoring, but then it's more about analyzing that data and then drawing conclusions in terms of the progress made through the projects and the impacts. And it can be used also in evidence-based decision making. Our work on KPIs, we started by discussing what is already available, because a lot of work has been already done on smart city indicators, and of course we don't want to reinvent the wheel. For environmental impacts, there are common indicators, or some common indicators already available, as we saw also in the previous presentation. But in other domains, there are many differences in approaches and also gaps. And now this positive energy district is a topic that both in policy discussion and also in the demonstrations of the most recent projects have gained more and more importance, and there we need to work together on common indicators to assess those type of demonstrations. And we are also collaborating with some other initiatives that work on this topic. And then for the more non-technical indicators that address social issues and the replicability of project solutions, there is a lack of KPIs and common procedures. So about this social evaluation, for example, we have identified the major gap, and one of the reasons is that the smart city frameworks, the policy discussion, and also the project consortia, they are quite much dominated by technical people, engineers, and that's a reason that there is a lack of awareness also of social evaluation, and such approaches are not integrated in the common frameworks. And that's why there is a lack of common indicators also. Then there are some phenomena that are difficult to capture, like learning during the projects, and on the other hand, many of the impacts would to assess those, it would require many interviews and surveys, and if that's not planned in the project, then that's a challenge also in terms of the project budget, and that causes some consequences that these issues are not always addressed. Some of the social changes also take quite a long time to be demonstrated, so in some cases the project lifetime is too short for that. So these are some of the issues we have identified in terms of social evaluation. And finally, a couple of words on the work that we have been doing in terms of defining the baseline. So each project, they define the reference performance against which they then monitor the progress made in the project demonstrations. And for project interventions that address some existing systems, like existing buildings, make some changes and additions there. It can be a bit more straightforward. There can be measured data available before the project interventions or reliable simulations. Then for new solutions implemented in the project, then it's a bit different case, and there are not common approaches that all the projects use, so there is more variety. Some of the approaches used, projects try to describe the performance of typical similar solution, or they can use the legal requirements to define the baseline, or then they can analyze the solutions that are used by the target users of the new solutions developed. In terms of national regulations that often have an impact to the baseline, there are also differences between countries, and then they also cause methodological differences in some cases, so that then needs to be understood because it creates some challenges for the comparability of the results from different cities. So there are no many common standards to define the baseline, and that's why it's a bit challenging for many projects. And those common methods that exist, they mainly focus on energy in buildings, but then for mobility related demonstrations, there are no common standards. And one of the things that affects the impacts of mobility solutions is also related to the behavior of the users, and that is quite often neglected. It's quite challenging. So this was a summary of the some of the activities that we have been working on over the first year of this task group, and our work will continue in the coming years. So thank you from my side. We can come back to this later on in the discussion. So then I will give the floor to Jeroen. You can take the control.
Okay, thank you, Aapo. Hello everyone, my name is Jeroen Grooten. At the city of Amsterdam, I'm working as a project manager for data and monitoring for the energy transition. In the beginning of this year, we've launched a roadmap, Amsterdam Climate Neutral. In this roadmap, it is presented how the city wants to become climate neutral by the year 2050, with some steps, of course, in between. Strangely, of course, this was presented by the beginning of March, and I think 1 week later, the COVID crisis really also hit the Netherlands. So then, of course, we thought, is this plan still actual or not? Well, at the moment, we see that many plans are still active, and we're going to continue with them. We've added one new plan recently. It's in Dutch, but it has to do with green recovery. How can we create extra jobs when we're going to invest in renewable energy, etc. But my presentation is about the roadmap. In the roadmap, it's mainly about reducing greenhouse gases within the city of Amsterdam. That is the main indicator, but we've also included around 30 other indicators which we're going to monitor in the beginning, at least each year, and hopefully in the end more frequent. I'm not going to present them all to you. That's maybe a little bit too much. I will give some examples. As you can read over here, we have technical indicators, as we call them, and social indicators, which also already was talked about by the previous presenters. The technical indicators, they are grouped in four transition paths, as we call them. The first has to deal with all the buildings. For instance, how many houses in Amsterdam are not using natural gas anymore. For mobility, for instance, we're going to monitor which percentage of all the kilometers driven by cars and other traffic has an electrical engine. And for electricity, for instance, we're going to monitor, and that's what we're already doing, how many solar power is installed within the city boundaries of Amsterdam and how many wind power. And for the harbor and the industry, it's a little bit more difficult. We're still thinking about what should we monitor over there. For instance, we could think at what percentage of the revenues of the harbor of Amsterdam has to do with renewable energy instead of what is happening right now. And then something about the social indicators. When we presented the roadmap, the local councillors really asked us to add some more social indicators. I think that's a very good idea. And at the moment, we take a look at 3 and maybe a fourth one. The first one is that how is it dealt with the support? At the moment, I think around 3/4 of the inhabitants of the city is positive about renewable energy. But for instance, if a wind energy is getting very nearby, then some people, of course, like it a little bit more, like it a little bit less. So we're going to monitor that, and that's what we already do since last year through questionnaires among the people and also among the businesses. Another thing is energy poverty. We unfortunately we see that in some neighborhoods in Amsterdam, people pay more than 10% of all their income to energy, and we have also have a 2-yearly research how that's going to change, and also in the next years when the energy transition is getting further, then it's very important to see if this is not getting a bigger problem. Something else is the employment. I already mentioned the Green Recovery Plan. We're going to monitor how many jobs at the moment are in the city of Amsterdam has to do with the energy transition and other sustainability jobs, and is it going to grow? That's what we expect. We're going to do that on a yearly basis. And something else is not in this list, you could call it a social indicator as well, is what have we done, how much have we talked with people, with inhabitants and stuff like that. So that's also important. So we have the technical and the social indicators. Well, we are at the moment creating for the first time the yearly monitor of the roadmap, and what we see while doing that is that for many indicators it's going pretty okay, but sometimes it's really difficult to have real actual insight. Sometimes the data is a year old or even older, and then sometimes you can see how it is going right now. Something else is that it costs sometimes a lot of time to gather all the relevant data and bring it together in a report. We're also thinking about bringing it together in a database, but of course that's not what is very easy. But in the end it would save a lot of time. And a third thing on this sheet is I think it's quite doable to show progress in quantitative indicators. You see graph, and is it going up or down, or does it stay the same? But of course, we also have a lot of policies and actions which we've promised to do and which we're implementing right now. I think in total maybe a little bit more than 200. And it's still quite difficult how you can have a good visualization of all those actions and policies. So that's still where we are thinking about how should we show them. And of course, no one is interested, I think, in all of them, but you want to be transparent, I think. And yeah, that's still something we're thinking about. Yeah, that was my last sheet. So I'm going to hand over the presentation to Hans Martin.
Okay, while you do that, Jeroen, I see that there are some questions already in the chat. For everybody, these will be treated after the 4 short presentations are over. So you can still enter new questions, but we will do something with them afterward. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, hello everyone, I hope you can hear me well. My name is Hans Martin Neumann. As Rudy Rooth has said before, I work for AIT, Austrian Institute of Technology, as well the leader of a research group for urban resilience and transformation. And since September of 2020, I also have the great pleasure and honor to be, to act as a technical manager of the SCALE project, which is a major European initiative supporting the Smart City Lighthouse projects, carrying out many different activities, and some of them will be related also to indicators and monitoring. And I would like to tell you more about this now in my short presentation. So, well, I think in this round I do not really have to talk a lot about Smart City Lighthouse projects. I assume that most of you, well, at least know about them. I think many of you have also been involved in Smart City Lighthouse projects. Well, just to keep it short, these are, of course, large-scale demonstration projects bringing together, lots of cities in Europe working on the energy transition, on digitization and other pressing urban issues, trying out new solutions, co-creating technological but also social innovation, and supporting the pathway towards a carbon neutral Europe. What I think we have seen in the last years are really a lot of really excellent and very inspiring results. Rudy has just given us an overview over some of the, I would say, quantitative impacts that could have been that were assessed. But I would say one of the maybe shortcomings, if you want, of this program so far was that the projects very much worked in parallel, and there was, I would say, only limited interaction between them. Of course, we do have the Smart City Information System that collects the monitoring data. And of course, we have also initiatives like the one that Aapo has presented, bringing together in a, I would say, more or less informal way results from the different projects and providing a ground for exchange and discussion of the results. These are all very good examples, of course, but nevertheless, the European Commission felt that this should be brought to the next level. And therefore, they opened a call for tenders earlier this year for providing support services for the Smart City Lighthouse projects. And this is what the SCALE project now basically does. So what does the SCALE project in the end deliver? So first of all, a lot of technical support for the Smart City Lighthouse projects. For example, with regards to, I would say, a more structured management of the different working groups, like the one on monitoring evaluation. Furthermore, there will be, and I think this will be interesting for many of you, there will be also an additional expert group set up that should basically provide ad hoc support for running projects in case you have a specific technical question or a specific economic questions which you cannot answer in your consortium. The expert group will then in the future will help you out with this. And furthermore, this expert group should also support the development of follow-up projects in close collaboration with cities which are not involved in Smart City Lighthouse projects so far. And I think this is a very important part, the expert group will be also a good opportunity for experts that were involved in projects that are closed now or that are about to close, to get in touch with the other running projects for the future and share their knowledge and experience with them. Furthermore, the SCALE project will also support the scaling of the solutions in different ways. For example, I've mentioned that there will be activities supporting follow-up projects or activities supporting similar initiatives like the Smart City Lighthouse projects, maybe at a smaller scale. There will also be, to a certain extent, some grants available of, I would say, piloting or rapid prototyping of smart city solutions in cities that are, I would say, smaller in terms of scope than the Smart City Lighthouse project at the moment. So this will be also enabled. And also, for the scaling, we will have several formats of knowledge sharing. There will be a big conference, for example, bringing together results from the project, a roadshow, showing all the good things that came out of the Smart City Lighthouse projects to make them more visible. Another activity that I would like to mention here is that we will also, at least somehow develop ideas for a European postgraduate master program, which should involve leading universities in the field, and that should also take up knowledge created in the Smart City Lighthouse projects. I just saw some question coming here through the chatter. If all the activities are strictly limited to the Lighthouse projects, no, this is not the case. Of course, we will start with this community, but for example, the call for expert will be an open one. We will also bringing out together with with partner networks like the JPI Urban Europe will be involved in this, and also the Urban Land Institute as a business partner. We are seeking for new collaborations, and we are seeking to strengthen the network of the smart cities in Europe. And this is, of course, there are more smart cities than only the Lighthouse cities. Furthermore, as I'm talking about extending, we will also, of course, link with different European initiatives like the Smart City Information System. We had already a talk with them, and of course there will be a close collaboration also with other networks, maybe in the realm of, I don't know, digitization in Europe, or in the realm of sustainable urban development. There will be more follow-up activities. And I think this basically describes the picture. The initiative will run for 5 years, so really long time. And there will be, of course, a roadmap is being developed at the moment about the activities and also prioritization. And this is being discussed with the Commission and with the Board of Coordinators of the Lighthouse projects. Who's involved in this? The lead is actually with a city-led organization, SPL Lyon Confluence. Basically, a project execution agency of the city of Lyon that is also managing the Smart Together Lighthouse project. They are supported by 2 business consultants, Algoe and Blueside. AIT is responsible for the technical management. This is basically the coordination of the working groups and of the experts. And also what we will do is, I forgot to mention this, we will do a lot of synthesizing work, bringing together results, making them digestible also for maybe partners that are not directly involved in the smart city discussion. This is also will be our work, and also some part of evaluation. Replication will be supported by Energy Cities. Content management, this is in this case, a lot related to finding money for follow-up projects, will be supported by GVSCO. And of course, we will have also a good media coverage by 20 Communications. So what will we actually now execute? This is, of course, a very short summary of the manifold activities that we have. We will, of course, work close with the Board of Coordinators in a structured format. This is the activity number 2, and with the different task groups and expert groups. We will also support peer-to-peer processes. That will be an important aspect, where also the experts, which I mentioned, will be involved. We will organize roadshows, we will organize outreach activities, and create new partnerships. And also we will deliver in the end some kind of solution packages. I think those of you who have been involved in the EIP know the discussion. That will be also a major activity here of this project. Now, how is this related to monitoring and evaluation? I think I would like to highlight, I would say, two aspects here. Of course, we will heavily refer to your monitoring results when it comes to the, I would say, to the packaging of the solutions and also to the synthesis of the results, because in the end, in order to convince people like, I don't know, investors or also other cities that should come on board, you need to come up with data. And I think this is where the clear linkage is available. Furthermore, we are working on that. I will show you later on a digital platform that should be also somehow linked to SCIS, where its monitoring results to a certain extent will certainly be shown. And also, we would like to ensure that the Lighthouse cities that have been involved previously and that are now at the end of their project duration are still involved in the community and will be also enabled to share data, to continue providing data to SCIS and to other formats. I think we're discussing at the moment how this can be exactly done, and I'm sure also that the colleagues involved in SCIS will have an opinion on this. But it is a high priority for the European Commission to ensure that the flow of monitoring data does not stop once the projects are over. Last point regarding this, we will also establish a new form of monitoring on the program level of the Smart Cities Lighthouse projects that should show the impact of the program as a whole, with a specific focus on showing what the contribution to reaching European climate and energy goals is, and what the contribution to the decarbonization of Europe and the Green New Deal agenda will be. This is to be developed, and of course, I think that we can heavily refer to the good work that has been done in the monitoring work packages and in Smart City Information System. Okay, I think this, as I'm talking already for quite a while, I will not go here into the detail. Just be assured that we will have, of course, a very attractive digital outlet for all the activities and all the results. A platform that should also, not only make project results more visible, but that should also support brokerage and partnering for new projects, potentially also bringing together, or that's something we are discussing at the moment, how to do this, bringing together solutions developed in Lighthouse projects with the community investors. And of course, also there will be a link to monitoring data and to SCIS through an interface that still needs to be discussed. So I think in the end, this diagram, this is my last slide. It shows that I think we really have a very interesting initiative that is now starting, and I'm happy to share this now with you. And I think it's good that we stay in touch on this. It is organized like, I don't know, a doll in a doll. No? So we have some core activities that are part of the project, but we will also have a lot of shared activities with SCIS, with the EIP marketplace environment, with other smart city projects. Might they be funded by JPI Urban Europe or on a national basis? And we will create linkages and outreach throughout, I would say, the smart city environment in Europe. And therefore, we are very happy that we can present this initiative now here at the SCIS final conference. And of course, we'll be very happy to stay in touch with all of you and to keep in the loop and exchange the experience and the knowledge that you have created, that we are creating, making cities in Europe smarter, and Europe bringing Europe closer to becoming carbon neutral in the future. This is all from my side. So thank you very much for your attention. And of course, I'll be very happy to engage later in the discussion, and will be very eager to answer your question. Thank you very much.
Okay, Hans Martin, thank you very much for your insight into the new project of Scale. I would like to invite all the presenters to show their video and to be able to take part in the discussion. I would like to look first at the chat to see whether there were popped up any questions from the audience, and I saw one for Aapo. I believe that was the first one that, there are two for you. Aapo, what are the main gaps that you identified in KPI? And the other question was on economic indicators. Could you please comment on that?
Yeah, I will start by the gaps. So as I already started during my presentation, try to explain. So I think the building and energy related indicators are more established to show the impacts of such interventions. But then in other fields there are gaps and mainly related to issues that are not technical. So this social KPIs to show, for example, the benefits of the smart city solutions implemented, the benefits to the users, and then also the replicability of the solutions, because it's a crucial aspect in this smart city solutions. So they are implemented in these couple of lighthouse cities, but then another main point, as is also the focus of this session, is to see how those could be replicated widely in other cities in Europe. So to identify those factors. Then if I move to the other questions, so economic evaluation and what is the state of that in projects. I would say that there are a couple of indicators that are traditional indicators, like each and all of the projects more or less try to assess those. So they try to estimate the new jobs created and also to assess the return of investment of the projects. Some issue that many projects are having then is regards the confidentiality of some of the economic data. For example, large share of data from companies can be confidential, so then it's not possible to share it easily, or they are not very willing to share it. And then I think altogether there are only these couple of economic indicators that most of the projects are assessing, but then there are many other interesting things that could be done, and we have some examples, but not many, like how to assess also the economic benefits of societal changes, like benefits of reductions, improvements in air quality, or benefits from the reduction in CO2 emissions.
Okay, thank you very much for this comment. Another one I saw for Jeroen. You are also busy with establishing social indicators. How about the baseline issue that Aapo addressed? Is that something that bothers, is a major concern in Amsterdam as well, or how do you go about it?
Well, for each indicator, we've also defined what is the baseline. So to which year do we compare the results? If that's an answer to the question. And for some indicators, it is as recent as possible. But for CO2, we look back to 1990, and that is of course a long time ago. So that's a real estimation. But it was not really a big issue. But maybe I haven't understood completely enough what Aapo explained. So is that an answer, Rudy, or do you mean something else?
Well, of course, in order to make an assessment of progress, you need to have a starting point, and for technical parameters, then it might be easier than for social indicators, which are based on surveys, etc. So I think, Aapo, that was one of your concerns. Is it for some of the indicators that it is difficult to establish a proper baseline or to common baseline across countries?
Yeah, I think in the case there is a slight difference for the case for Jeroen in Amsterdam, because there probably the scale is the whole city, where they are looking at some changes, and then in our case we are assessing the impacts of projects, and they have their own own smaller scopes, and that data is not always that easily available. That's one thing. And then also, like in our case, then we are collaborating between these different projects, and we are trying to also to some extent compare the results. Then the issue is also if the methods used are different, because that can affect the results in a significant way.
Okay, thank you. For the audience, there's still the possibility to post your questions in the chat box, but we have addressed I think what was in there now. I have also prepared a few questions to the panelists, and one of those is how should we maximize, or how should we properly use data and KPI for the development of cities and communities in relation to this energy transition. I mean, I have shown one thing is looking back maybe 10 years and see and get a confirmation of what you want to see, let's say in the reduction of CO2, but there might be other ways to more rapidly use data to move forward. Any comments from Jeroen, Aapo, or Hans Martin? Yeah, Hans Martin?
Well, yes, thank you for the question, Rudy. I would see mainly three, or maybe 4 dimensions in this. Yeah. First of all, well, monitoring of strategies, of decarbonization strategies or smart city strategies, I think is still very important. We have seen the example from Amsterdam in the presentation here. We at AIT a couple of years ago did something similar for the city of Vienna for the Smart City Framework Strategy, and I do believe there's still a lot of work to do in this field. Also, well, when you think about how to organize it in terms of data collection using new approaches, using open data sets, there's certainly, I think, still a lot to do. Second point is, I think that we will, in the field of positive energy districts, need to get very quickly to the topic of standardization and certification, especially. Yeah, we are at the moment still discussing the way how to define positive energy districts, how to define smart neighborhoods, and well, in order to make them attractive for investors, basically, and maybe also for end users, I think we will need need labels for these neighborhoods quite soon. Yeah. And the third one is, I would say, maybe related to I would say financing, where we see that, as we will also discuss it in the SCALE project, there's very often, I would say, misunderstandings between city administrations and solution providers on the one hand side, and well, those who should finance the solutions on the other side, because they talk in different languages. And I think also here monitoring data can help to build a bridge.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you addressed the item of the project indicators versus city indicators. I think for the purpose of helping the cities forward, I think well, actually, we kind of need to address both. But of course, the projects that are receiving funding from the EU, one of the monitoring purposes is also whether they are doing as expected or as designed or whatever. And they cannot be held responsible for what is happening in the entire city. But in some way, maybe we need to work on a kind of translation of what projects' achievements are and how they can help the cities. Another question that I came up with is, looking at these technical data, we collect them and we visualize them, but actually it's important to understand who is our main audience for this kind of information. which I would like to have your opinion on. Can I give the floor to any one of you?
Well, I would say that if I take a look at our situation, then the monitoring of the roadmap, I think it's mainly for city councillors, so they see if it's going into the good direction. But it was a good point about project indicators. Of course, we also sometimes have such indicators, and I think that it's much more for the city, the people working in the city, dealing with the project. That is, I think, the main group to give information to, so they can, if necessary, speed up or slow down, etc., or change the plans. That's what I would say about that.
And how about the aspect of well, making people, triggering enthusiasm, for example, from people looking at the website, or well, triggering interest in certain projects based on the numbers. Would that be relevant?
Yeah, we've discussed about that over here, and I think the current situation, how we think about it, is that I think in Amsterdam there live 850,000 people, and I think only very few of them are really interested in the figures, in the KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to be honest, most people have to do, in their opinion, better things, and I agree. But what we parallel do, and that is not really monitoring, but we also have created a website where you can find information, where you can be helped how to, for instance, get solar power on your rooftop, and the website also shows enthusiastic examples of others. And I think, in my opinion, if you want to give like the positive energy to others, in my opinion, I personally like figures a lot, but I think stories of your neighbors doing that are, I think, more helpful than presenting a figure, a number. The numbers are very necessary, but in my opinion, to other people.
Yeah, I agree with you that the numbers are more like supporting professionals and policymakers than reaching the wider public in taking action, because it will not give them any let's say support in actionable items, so to speak.
Yeah.
And maybe it's interesting to say that Amsterdam has developed a website that really is targeting inhabitants to come into action. Jeroen, I forgot the name of it, but was it? What can jij doen? What can you do?
Yeah, I can send it in the chat. That's
okay. That might be interesting.
Yeah,
it is in
idea.
Dutch. It is in Dutch, but maybe interesting to see for some people. I saw a question from Eelco on the bridge project. Maybe you can comment on that, Eelco. Can you come into the meeting?
Hello. It's yes, sure. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Eelco Kruisinga, and I was wondering, maybe I misunderstood, because I think I saw on the slide on Bridge that data will be provided through an API, and I was wondering what type of data and how is that data then aligned with, let's say, the data definitions as used in the SCIS SRT, because that will be useful. And then I started to think, why have an API at all if you could use the SRT to begin with for data capture? Maybe the presenter can comment on that, the ideas around that API. I'm interested in that.
Who was the presenter of this bridge element? Eelco, can you remember?
It was, I think, was it Hans Martin?
I don't know. Hans Martin, can you please comment on that?
I think it was.
Is Hans Martin still there? Well, I don't hear him anymore. Maybe he comes in the comes back. But Eelco, as far as I know,
works now. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah. You are there. Yeah.
Okay. Can you please repeat the question? I had to switch the device, so I missed the question. I only heard the second half.
Yeah, sorry. The question was around because I saw on the slide somewhere you would provide an API to let's say make available monitoring data from across the Lighthouse project. I understand. So I was wondering, how does that API? What type of data definitions do you foresee, and how those align to the SCIS SRT data definitions? And then I started to think, why have an API at all if you could be using SRT to begin with to capture the data? That was
to be honest, this has not been really defined yet. I mean, certainly we will try to establish, try to follow the SCIS standards as far as possible, because there needs to be an exchange of data for this. We also have some other tools that need to be somehow integrated. There was that have been developed by a project. So this is work that still has to be done. No, we are at the very beginning of it, so I cannot really answer this on a technical level at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, Eelco, maybe my confusion was that you mentioned the bridge, but Hans Martin is of Scale, the Scale project. So maybe
yes, it's Scale.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, but
sorry,
bridge is an existing project.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, sorry, that's my mistake. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see whether there so another question that I had a few, but most of them have been addressed, like what role data can play in the replication of promising solutions. But one that is left, I think, is the main hurdles in data collection. What is the opinion of let's say Aapo or any one of you?
Based on experiences with several cities, I would say that one challenge has been that the data collection is very time consuming. The actual data can be located in different departments in the city, and so it can be even time consuming to find out who has the data. And I think the main solution there would be that Jeroen also mentioned this in his presentation. If the cities had the centralized databases where they collect all the data, that would make the process much more streamlined and easier to find the data and then to collect it. That's one experience we have.
Yeah. And on the issue of standardization, which was mentioned by one of you, I know that SCIS in the beginning of their project, we have had discussions with the International Standardization Organization, ISO, because they have set up in the past standardized standards for sustainable communities, but it comprised 400 indicators that were in a very wide field, not only technical, but also on jobs, on air quality, on economy, which made it that comprehensive or wide in scope, that you could be smart on any aspect, but would you be a smart and sustainable community overall? So in terms of weighing the different elements of the standards, it was very difficult, and it was never an accepted standardization document, maybe because it was so wide in scope. So what do you think that should be the key elements of such a standardization document? To give an example, CO2 is one when it comes to climate, but what others? No inspiration anymore? Or are we kicked out?
No, I think we're still there.
Okay, because it was 12:30. So well,
no, we still have
not,
5 minutes left.
Okay. So well, there is one final opportunity, I would say, for the audience to add questions to any of the presenters at the moment. So if you want to seize this opportunity, do it now, because we will otherwise we will close. I hope it has been an informative session for you, and that it is helpful. For my side, I found it a pleasure to do this session for you. And if there are no further requests or messages, then I would like to close. Any comments from Aapo, Hans Martin, or Jeroen?
No.
No.
Not
Well,
more
thank you
from
very
my
much
side.
then to all, and have a nice further conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.